You're listening to the Tuesday night edition of the Wrestling Report, brought to you by the Rcwr Show. I'm, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Thank you all so humbly for checking out tonight's episode on July 17th, 2012. We are just almost 3 days away now from the final installment of the Dark Knight trilogy as The Dark Knight Rises comes to us in theaters nationwide. We're going to see some early screenings that's going to be happening Thursday night on the East Coast, probably on the West Coast as well, and then it opens everywhere on Friday. Had a tough time securing my tickets. Let me tell you, me and my girlfriend, we were told by the guy at the ticket booth to try to see if we can add, get this, at least 2 hours to 2.5 hours, basically be there that early, because the lines are going to be jam-packed, and they're only going to be showing the movie 4 times. So if you have not secured your tickets yet, good luck to you. They tried to give you an early head start, as they had tried to sell the tickets as early as a month and a half ago. I'm hearing even as early as 2 months ago, as these are the hottest tickets to try to get right now. We got a pretty awesome show that's lined up for you tonight, as we're going to be tackling the final 2-hour edition of WWE Raw that we just saw air on Monday night. Get you caught up on the latest in wrestling and entertainment news. And it's another great installment of Hidden Gems, as I'll be introducing to you a underrated album that I recommend you go check out. And I'll also be recommending a DVD for you to go check out. I want to just take this time before we dive into everything to just thank you, the listeners, for checking out the RCWR Call That Match special that normally is a YouTube exclusive, but we had went on ahead and decided that we were going to bring it on over to our Blog Talk family and our Stitcher family, make that special be available for download. And you all had made your voices be heard, as you had made it your business to check out that special. Really means a lot to us, and it's definitely a strong sign for us that you appreciate that type of content, as we'll definitely be doing another Call That Match special for you all in the upcoming weeks. To say the least, there were actually surprisingly some people that did not appreciate our Call That Match special that we did. Now, as y'all know, originally our WWE Money in the Bank Call That Match special was for YouTube. And normally I really don't get up on YouTube like that. Usually the person that's uploading our stuff is Zed, and he had came across a comment by a YouTube user, and he was like, "Hey, Lee, you got to check this out. This was pretty silly, man." I said, "Really? What's up?" And he shows me this comment from this guy who was, I think he's 48 years old, 51 years old. Anyway, I saw the words that he had to say, and I was just a little bit baffled at what he had said. So I just thought I'd share that with you right now, and just keep in mind as I'm letting you all know what's going on, my feathers didn't get raffled at all. If anything, I was just baffled at his response to our Call That Match special. So this is what he had to say, and we're not going to name him because he doesn't deserve that type of exposure. This is what he had to say. He said, "Way too much talking. Need to show fighting and no talking. I think they shouldn't even put this kind of talk show on here." That's what he had to say. Now, I saw this, and the first thing I said to Zed, I said, "Hey, did you reply to this by chance?" He said, No, I didn't. I said, "Okay, well, move aside. Let me get this." So this is what I had to say to him, and this would be my personal message to anybody that comes across any of our past and future Call That Match specials that we're going to be doing. This is what I had to say to him. I said, "Good afternoon, good evening. We understand your video comments. Hey, we saw another message that made it more clear what you were saying, sir. The piece you listen to is a prediction special. It is done by many wrestling shows that do it for the internet. We've worked really hard on that piece. To compare how it was a few months ago, it's come a long way. There used to be no images to look at. There used to be no show intro, no enthusiasm, nothing. Our show isn't the only one that does that, and let us remind you that at least shows like ours are willing to go through each match and get the folks ready for the pay-per-view. WWE has done a poor job in recent months plugging pay-per-views. To show people fighting, as you call it, would involve needing permission from WWE to take several video shots of the participants for each match. If not already compiled, then someone of our staff would have to spend man-hours making the type of video that you're talking about. We don't charge our fans, unlike some folks, for watching our content. Please think about all these factors the next time you feel the way that you do. Greatest advice I can give from one adult to another: if you don't like what you hear in the first 10 to 15 minutes, move on to the next vid. No reason to go out of your way and leave a comment. No harm done. FYI, you may not like the piece, but for those who checked out our piece, ended up following us, downloaded our shows, as to date, not on here, but we have well over, and I told him the exact amount of how many people had checked out that Call That Match special. We know we can't please everyone, and though it is your opinion, that's all it is. Thank you for your constructive criticism. And, you know, I can understand from his standpoint if he wants to see matches, but guess what? If he wants to see people getting it on, he's already on YouTube. If what he cares to see are wrestling matches, then he could just do like several of you listeners do. I know I do it. We hop on YouTube. We feel like we want to watch a match. We type in some words and we see what happens, especially if we're trying to recall a particular match that we had saw months ago or a couple of years ago, and we just want to relive that moment. To try to show the type of stuff that he was talking about, folks, I mean, seriously, and it's an understatement, that would involve a lot of bending over, trying to get permission, because a lot of people, let's just clear up this myth right now, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I would just really tackle this, because it's actually something that a lot of wrestling shows actually do not tackle, especially for shows like ours that do a post-show covering that respected wrestling pay-per-view that Sunday night, which is, you know, we can't sit up and show the pay-per-view. We can't really show video clips. We can probably get away with maybe showing a few still images. Images is the key word here. We could probably get away with that, but if we were to do something like overkill in our YouTube videos, we would seriously get in trouble. For those of you that are not really familiar with YouTube, there's probably those of you that just got a YouTube account and you're just looking at videos, adding it to your playlist. Well, for us and other guys, it's totally different because we're trying to become part of YouTube. We're trying to be a partner of YouTube. Some of us are already partners, and when you're trying to be a partner on YouTube, you have to meet strict guidelines. They are more tougher on you. So if we were to show that type of content, here's basically what would happen. After enough strikes, our account would be terminated. So then you wouldn't be able to check out all the content that we've been uploading over these past several months. So unfortunately, as much as we would like to try to show you all, as sure as many other wrestling shows would love to try to show you video clips, it's just not doable because they would get in trouble. They would have to go through a whole bunch of loopholes just to get permission. So, bear that in mind. But I think that's the greatest advice I can give anybody. Our show, if you were to ask me, especially for those of you that might be checking this out for the first time, our wrestling shows that we do twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, it's pretty much aimed towards that educated wrestling fan. For that wrestling fan that is kicking back and they're saying to themselves, man, I haven't seen Rey Mysterio in like about I don't know how many months. What's going on? It seemed like last I saw him, he was doing pretty good. Something's going on here. Something smells a little fishy. Let me do some homework and see if I can find out what's going on. This show is kind of more dedicated towards those fans that want to try to sit up and educate themselves and try to figure out what the heck is going on, try to make sense of it all. Yeah, we already know that the wrestling sport is fake, but I think the real story is what's going on behind the scenes, which is really newsworthy, I feel, as I'm sure as many other wrestling shows feel, as that is the real spotlight. That's what has really everybody talking. So if you can't really appreciate getting that type of full scope spectrum on what all is going on in the wrestling beat, if you can't really sit up and appreciate a show like ours, several other shows where we offer analysis and predictions on what could possibly happen in a particular match, you just want to watch guys throw it down, you don't care about all that, well, we're sorry to hear that, but obviously our show wouldn't be your cup of tea. But to say the least, there's no reason to sit up and go out of your way to leave a comment just, not my cup of tea, move on. That's the best advice I can give right there. So just a little FYI for everybody. But still, regardless of that, we had picked up a ton of new subscribers on YouTube, courtesy of our Call That Match special and courtesy of the RCWR post show that we had did covering the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And for those of you that might have not checked that out yet, definitely recommend that you do so, as that was a very interactive show, had a great blast interacting with everybody on the pay-per-view night, had fun interacting with everybody on Twitter and on Facebook, not to mention those that were in our chat room, especially those that had called into the show. We definitely appreciate you all that had did that, as you had made our Call That Match special and our post show the most downloaded and listened to shows of the weekend. So we appreciate that love right there. So let's go on ahead right now and let's talk about this final installment of WWE Raw that we saw this past Monday night. And for those of you that are calling into the wrestling fan line right now, we'll definitely be opening up our phone lines later on during the show. Let's talk about this final installment of WWE Raw, folks. It was episode number 999. It's almost basically the end of an era as we saw the final 2-hour edition of WWE Raw, as next Monday night they're going to be going 3 full hours. I kind of felt just a little bit nostalgic, if you will, from what all I had saw on last night's Raw. It just brought back a lot of memories, good and bad. Not necessarily what all I was seeing throughout the night, although the Raw moments that they showed, it did draw up some memories of Raws from years prior. But it just really kind of felt very nostalgic, as it just really feels to me like it's going to be the dawn of a new era come next Monday night. And how about the way WWE Raw had ended, folks, as we would see John Cena revealing to CM Punk that, hey, I'm going to be cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase on the 1,000th episode of WWE Raw. Now, as the Meatloaf song goes, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. For those of you that had listened to that Call That Match special that we did for Money in the Bank, I had said you could expect for John Cena to do a quick turnaround and cash that contract title contract for the title match, but I was half right there, as I was expecting him to do it at the SummerSlam pay-per-view, but instead he's going to be doing it on the 1000th episode of Raw. Still a quick turnaround nonetheless, as he had just won it 24 hours earlier. So really quick turnaround right there, and it's just got a lot of people that's buzzing right now. We're already seeing a lot of people that are expressing their distaste in this, and it actually brings up a very good topic, which we're going to be covering later on in the show, as it was briefly discussed on the RCWR post show, which is basically the question of, have we been really getting too much John Cena? Has John Cena really been forced down the wrestling fans' throats? That's going to be a very interesting segment, as we're definitely going to be covering that later on in the show in our Keeping It Real segment. So definitely want to stay tuned for that. But for now, let's just go over the results quickly. As I said, we would see John Cena surprising CM Punk, letting him know when he's going to cash in that title. We would also see a night highlighted by the return of the 619, Rey Mysterio. That's right, Ray. He is finally back. He's been back for a couple of weeks now, but WWE, they did not want to bring him on television just yet. I guess they were just looking for the right moment to bring him back. And what better moment than last night, as originally a little bit of buzz that was in circulation was that he was possibly going to be returning on the SmackDown tapings tonight. That probably may still be the case, but it looks like they changed it by a day, as we would see him make his return. So let's get you caught up from everything that has transpired from the very beginning of the opening show. And, man, we would see Big Show, who would interrupt the WWE champion, CM Punk, who's addressing the WWE Universe, basically talking about how everything happened in Las Vegas a year ago when he had dropped the infamous pipe bomb and had went on to have continued success as the WWE champion. And he was just talking about how everything just began right there in the City of Sins, Las Vegas. And Big Show would interrupt him and share his thoughts on how Punk's last year has gone, as he feels that he's just seconds away from winning the championship contract at the pay-per-view. That's right, Big Show, he strongly believes that he came very close to getting that contract at Money in the Bank, and that if Big Show would have had his way, he'd be facing CM Punk right now and knocking him out to become the new champion. Big Show would also point out to CM Punk that his title, it's in jeopardy, because as it would turn out, Big Show and CM Punk are going to be getting it on in the main event later on tonight. And Big Show would say to Punk, all I need to do is just knock you out, and you will be in serious jeopardy, because it could prompt John Cena to come out and take advantage of your weakened state. Now, from there, folks, we would see Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler inform us of the very first WWE Raw episode that's available in its entirety on YouTube right now. Just hit them up on their WWE channel. I know there are probably a ton of WWE fans that may have not been born when that first episode of Raw had aired. That should really be a fantastic voyage trip for you guys down nostalgia lane, memory lane. I know for those of us that are in our late 20s, 30s, mid-30s, 40s. We definitely remember that first WWE Raw episode, and if we don't, our memories sure as heck are going to be jogged when we get ready to go look it up on YouTube. I haven't seen the episode yet. It's been so long, I'm not going to even try to put on the front for you all. I do not honestly remember the first night of Raw. I'm sure as I will be watching it, and I'll probably actually watch it as soon as we're done with tonight's show, I will probably be like, oh, my God, yeah, I remember that now. Everything's just going to come at me just boom, 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 boom. As, of course, we would see them plug the return of The Rock, who's going to be coming back next week for the 1,000th episode of Raw. Backstage segment we go now, where we see the WWE Tag Team Champions, Kofi Kingston and R-Truth, who are on their way out as they have a match next. Now, after a commercial break, we would see that there is a WWE poll that has been up for the past couple of days, apparently, as WWE, they need help trying to figure out which title will be defended on next week's Raw. And the choices are the Intercontinental Championship held by Christian, the United States Championship held by Santino, the Divas Championship held by Layla. Results will be revealed for that later tonight. In our first match, we'd see Kofi Kingston defeat the Primetime Players, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil. Very interesting development right there. I am not really sure why they continue to kind of be buried there. I'm not sure what that angle is. Could an angle possibly be that AEW gets so frustrated that he has a real serious pep talk with the Primetime Players and let them know that he's possibly going to be taking his talents and his business and his promotional skills elsewhere? Could very well be. Personally, I would love to see AEW try to pursue Ryback. Who could forget a couple of weeks back, several weeks back, when Ryback was just getting single-digit wins when he first resurfaced in the WWE. AEW kind of had him under his radar for a little bit as he was trying to get in a few words with him, but we didn't really see what had became of that. I personally would love to see AEW try to pursue Ryback. I think that would be hilarious backstage skits right there, as Ryback, not even uttering a word, would just give AEW a dirty look like he's just going to mess him up really bad if he doesn't sit up and get the heck away from him. But, yeah, who knows what's going to happen right there. But after seeing the Primetime Players get whooped, seems like consecutive weeks, if they have gotten a win in there, I'm not really sure where in between, but it just seems like every time I've seen these guys, they just keep losing. Very concerned about them right there, but nonetheless, very impressive. I know some people, they kind of felt a little bit disgruntled. They felt a little bit discouraged as they had saw this tag team match, because if you really thought about it, it was black on black on black on black. And I can kind of understand where some people were coming from, but let's just all agree that it was a fantastic tag team match to see these guys in. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing these four guys throw it down at a future pay-per-view. They were just phenomenal on that night's Raw. Backstage segment we go now, where we see AJ is talking with Daniel Bryan. Daniel tells AJ that he's sorry for all the things he said to her recently, as he got his whole head wrapped up around CM Punk and trying to capture the WWE Championship. And he'd also reveal that he has something very important to tell her when Eve would interrupt them. Eve would bring up to Bryan that due to him rolling out on her in their tag match last week, where they had took on the team of AJ and CM Punk, and as a result of Bryan ditching Eve, they were able to pick up the win. Eve says that she went to the board, and apparently she has a match set up tonight where she's going to be able to pick up an opponent of her choosing to take on AJ and Daniel Bryan. And from there, Eve would look at AJ and Daniel and say, payback is and looks at AJ and says, well, like AJ, before walking off. AJ, in the meantime, she tries to brush off what Eve said and says to Daniel Bryan to pick back up where he left off. What was it that he had to say? Well, Daniel Bryan would inform her that he'll mention it later on in the night, as once they defeat Eve and whoever the mystery opponent is, for sure he'll definitely let her know. From there, we would see Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler mention how John Cena had took to Tout to get fans' reactions on what was their favorite Raw moment, as fan reactions were to come later tonight. I actually like this whole concept that they're doing with Tout, how they're really trying to push the interactive envelope. I would just have to say it's about freaking time. We can't help but think about TNA, though, because TNA was actually really the first, in my mind at least, to really push that interactive button and really try to get wrestling fans to interact on the shows, interact on the pay-per-view. I love how WWE, they've been quietly looking at what TNA's been doing, and they've been magnifying it even more, really trying to make it be its own thing. I know we have some people that are sitting up saying that Tout is doomed for failure for the WWE. I don't really think that. I think that there are just a ton of WWE fans out there. Doesn't matter what age, what race, what country. There are just so many WWE fans that are out there. They will 9 times out of 10 probably sit up and get a Toot account just to be able to interact with their favorite WWE wrestlers, and then the high that they could possibly get if their video is shown during an episode of Raw and they're just sitting in front of all their friends and they get to boost and say that they were on TV. I think it's a very smart, it's very strategic what WWE is doing, as they're not only thinking about pushing that interactive envelope, but they're trying to figure out more ways to set themselves up to get better Raw ratings. I think it's a very smart move in general. If you really take the time to really think about it, it's just all around good for the WWE. I think they're going to be very successful with that. So don't pay too much attention to people that want to dog WWE using Toot. I don't think they really grasp what it is that they're talking about. Just trust me, that thing is going to blow up big time. I mean, it's already got that underground following right now, but it's going to be really magnified when WWE really gets a grasp of it. And for those of you that aren't really familiar with Toot, basically you can upload a 15-second video of yourself and you can send it to folks, and this is pretty much how WWE is going to be interacting with the fans. So really cool feature right there. Now from there, folks, we would see our second match, which would feature Alberto Del Rio defeating Zack Ryder. Now let's not forget that Zack Ryder and Alberto Del Rio, they had crossed paths on last week's SmackDown. And for those of you that might have missed last week's SmackDown, I highly recommend that you go try to see if you can maybe find it on YouTube, maybe on WWE's channel, or look it up on Daily Motion. That had to have been probably one of the best SmackDowns I've seen in recent weeks. I know I touched on it briefly during the RCWR post show, but that SmackDown, man, from last week, it was just really freaking on point. I was really loving that episode. But remember, last Friday on SmackDown, Zack Ryder was the special guest referee, and he had crossed paths with Alberto Del Rio in the opening portions of SmackDown, as he revealed to Alberto Del Rio that he was going to be in a match with Sin Cara, and we would see Alberto Del Rio defeat Sin Cara. So there's a little bit of the backstory as far as why we're seeing Alberto Del Rio take on Zack Ryder on Monday Night's Raw. You can basically say, in a sense, Alberto Del Rio is now trying to get a little bit of retribution on Zack Ryder for putting him in that match with Sin Cara on SmackDown. And Alberto Del Rio, once again, he just beats Zack Ryder within record seconds as he makes him tap out to that cross arm breaker. Isn't it funny? I've been saying it for I don't know how many weeks now. Every single time you get either Zack Ryder or Santino in the ring with Alberto Del Rio, after they could have just came off of a victory an episode or week prior, as soon as they lock it up with Alberto Del Rio, they get dogged out within seconds. I mean, they're just made to look extremely weak within seconds. And talk about a little bit of a buzzkill, folks, because Zack Ryder is just coming high off of being the temporary or interim general manager for SmackDown for that week, and the high and buzz that he got off of that just quickly gets demoralized as he suffers a loss from Alberto Del Rio. Now, post-match, we see Del Rio. He is just continuing to assault Ryder when, we would see the return of Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, he seems to be looking better than ever. All my years that I have seen Rey Mysterio in the WWE, he is just really looking pretty trimmed. He is very slim. I haven't seen Ray that slim since almost his days in WCW. I mean, that's just how small he looks to me. But nonetheless, he looks as if he still has it. I'm just a little concerned for Ray, as always, and I'm sure for Rey Mysterio fans out there, especially those of you that have followed him in the WCW days, I'm quite sure you feel the same sentiments as I, which is basically, okay, it's good that he's back, but can the man stay healthy? Can he make sure that those knees don't give him any problems? And I've been saying it for I don't know how many years now. I wish Ray would just come back when he's more than 100%, really take the time to make sure that everything checks out, everything's good, everything's re-strengthened, because, man, we've just seen this guy get injured so many freaking times. I mean, honestly, folks, if you were to sit up and tell me that he gets injured next week, it wouldn't surprise me, but I will be one of the first people with a trombone walking down the streets downtown and say Rey Mysterio needs to freaking retire, because too many of those broken knees is just really getting freaking ridiculous. That says to me the doctors ain't cutting his knees up right, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, we would see Ray return, and he's throwing it down with Alberto Del Rio. We can't forget about the infamous feuds that those two guys used to have on SmackDown as Alberto Del Rio was first coming up on the SmackDown brand. They had a lot of great matches, great memorable matches right there. I love what's happening right now. Let's see if they can make lightning strike twice and capture what they had years prior. From there, folks, the next thing that we would see on tonight's episode of Raw, we would see a backstage segment where we see that there is a camera being put on the locker room door as another WWE legend is going to be popping up next. As just a little bit prior to that, we saw Heath Slater share his favorite Raw moments, and take a wild guess of what his favorite Raw moments were. Apparently, it was the moments where he has been getting his ass whooped by WWE legends. That's right. We would hear about Heath Slater. Somehow in his own fantasy world, he basically is talking about how he threw it down with Vader, Roddy Piper, Sid Vicious, Doink the Clown, and how DDP showed him how to do the Diamond Cutter. Yeah, you can say Diamond Dallas Page was trying to show you how to do the diamond cutter, but when it's all said and done, Heath Slater, you really got your butt beat severely within the past recent weeks. I can only imagine what the payoff is going to be at WWE Raw 1000. It should be phenomenal, but there's Heath Slater sharing his favorite Raw moments, which consist of him. And, of course, from there, we would see Heath Slater in our third match take on a returning WWE legend. Who could it possibly be, folks? Drum roll. It would be no other than the big man himself, Rikishi. That's right. He is the latest WWE legend to return, as he hasn't been seen in the WWE since 2004, as he was part of one of the greatest dance trio stables, I feel, Too Cool, as Rikishi was also known for his infamous storyline surrounding who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. For those of you hardcore wrestling fans that remember, there was that black four-door car that had just, boom, just ran the heck over out of Stone Cold Steve Austin as he was in the parking lot. And Stone Cold would be out for a little bit over a year, as the real story why he was in that angle was because he had suffered a serious neck injury and he had needed to get surgery on it. Who could remember that Raw moment during Super Bowl, and they had interviewed Stone Cold Steve Austin on his ranch, and JR was talking to him. That was a really great moment right there. Don't mean to get sidetracked, folks, but it would turn out to be Rikishi that would be the one who ran over Stone Cold. And the reason why Rikishi ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin, folks, I did it for The Rock. That was probably one of the greatest freaking lines I remember, as it would turn out the Rikishi and The Rock are cousins, and Rikishi saw Stone Cold being eliminated as a way for The Rock to elevate further into the WWE and possibly replace Austin. So really cool moment right there. Of course, Rikishi, he would pick up the win and embarrass Heath Slater, as post-match we would see Rikishi join his sons, the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso, in a dance celebration. Big man showing that he still got the moves. I missed the heck out of Rikishi. I'm glad to see him back in the WWE. Glad that he's going to be part of WWE Raw 1000. You know, we're actually Twitter buddies with Rikishi, and we actually interact with him from time to time. He's a really cool person to take the time out and try to get to know. Probably one of the most coolest people that you'll ever come across. He really takes the time to interact with his Twitter followers. Really cool guy right there. If you haven't hit him up on Twitter, highly recommend that you do. From there, folks, we would see our fourth match, which would be AJ and Daniel Bryan, as they would team up to take on the team of Eve and Awesome, The Miz, who I have really been fixated on since he's returned. I mean, as one of our listeners had put it, it looks as if Miz finally hit puberty, because he just looks seasoned now. He looks more mature, and his hair, that's what's really got me going. The hairstyle that he's pushing right now, just letting it grow, getting rid of that ridiculous, stupid froghorn, leghorn, mohawk haircut. I'm glad he got rid of that little silly haircut. He looks more defined now. Well, even though we would see The Miz return, Eve and The Miz, they would lose to AJ and Daniel Bryan. Now, post-match, folks, we would see Daniel Bryan reveal to AJ that apparently there's something that he feels he's always wanted to say to AJ, but that he couldn't get the words to say it because he was a bit too shy, he's a bit too scared, and he would basically reveal how his entire career, it wouldn't be right if he didn't tell her how much he felt about her, as he loves her and admits that originally when he brought up the question of marriage, he was trying to do everything he could to possibly win her over and get her help in making him become the WWE champion at the pay-per-view. However, he reveals that none of that matters anymore as he drops to one knee and proposes to AJ. And we would see AJ accept. And, wow, you want to talk about a shocker, as it would be revealed later on in the show that AJ and Daniel Bryan are going to be tying the knot, and they are cordially inviting the WWE Universe, the WWE viewers, to watch them tie the knot on the 1,000th episode of Raw next week. Wow, talk about fast. We already know what's going to be coming with regards to that. We'll definitely talk more about what you can expect on next week's Raw in just a little bit. And from there, we would see a commercial for Undertaker, The Streak. Get ready to buy that 4-disc DVD set, available in standard and Blu-ray. It's going to be coming out next Tuesday, folks. All of the Undertaker's WrestleMania matches shown in its entirety, and it looks like we're also going to be getting a little bit of a documentary piece, if you will, possibly on the first disc, as wrestlers will be talking about the Undertaker's infamous WrestleMania streak. That should definitely be a great buy. If you've been paying attention to our website over the past couple of months, we've been sharing with you as much information as we could about the DVD, what all's going to be on it, the artwork, the packaging. It just looks truly phenomenal. WWE looks like they've done a fantastic job working on that DVD. Highly recommend you buy that. It's a must-own. Add it to your wrestling collection. You won't be disappointed. Well, then again, there's probably one or two WrestleMania matches you may want to skip. But for the most part, they're all pretty freaking good, I feel. And from there, folks, we would see another Raw moment that would go back to April 12th, 1999, and I just remembered this so perfectly well, as we would see The Rock throwing it down with Stone Cold Steve Austin, as The Rock had confiscated Stone Cold Steve Austin's Smoking Skull title and was teasing Austin to come meet him at this bridge if he wanted it back so badly. And Austin, he would eventually meet The Rock right there, and they're throwing it down. And Rock, he throws the smoking title over that bridge, and it falls into that cold, pitch-black lake. And they're just throwing it down, and eventually The Rock, he throws Stone Cold over that bridge. We see Stone Cold fall into that icy cold black water. Really great moment right there. Probably one of the best exchanges between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. For me, for my personal favorite Stone Cold Rock moments, that's probably my number 2 moment right there. And we would see Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler update us on the stuff that happened in the ring between AJ, Daniel Bryan, as we go now to our 5th match, which saw Jack Swagger take on Ryback. I don't know about you all, I was very pleased with what I saw from Jack Swagger, and sometimes the kid, I don't know, man, he just kind of seems a lot of times like he really doesn't get enough credit. Yeah, we know he really doesn't know how to talk that well on the mic, and he's got all that size and great strength, athleticism, but he's just not really pushing himself to become better. But I tell you what, folks, he looked pretty damn impressive as he took on Ryback, as I have to admit, to date, since Ryback has surfaced in the WWE, this was probably one of his best matches yet. Very pleased to see how Jack Swagger handled him, even though Jack Swagger lost to Ryback, thus keeping Ryback's winning streak intact. Jack Swagger, he put on one really strong performance. It got to the point, actually, where I would kind of actually love to see Jack Swagger work some type of a program with Ryback. I don't mind seeing Jack Swagger lose to Ryback, but I just kind of want to see them involved in a little bit of a program. It would be nice if maybe the weeks to come we see Swagger sitting up saying, you know, I can defeat Ryback. I know I can. Would kind of really be nice to see something like that happen. Hey, maybe we could actually see Jack Swagger begin a new reignited singles push of his own and maybe acquire the services of AW. Who knows? Taste of things to come. From there, we would see Michael Cole reveal that John Cena has a huge announcement that's going to be coming later tonight, as it was something he had delivered via Toot, as Vicky Guerrero would introduce the new Money in the Bank winner for the SmackDown side for the World Heavyweight Championship contract, Mr. Show-Off himself, Dolph Ziggler. This was probably one of the greatest highlights of Raw for that night, folks, as we would see Ziggler and Chris Jericho exchange words. And you want to talk about pipe bombs. Dolph Ziggler, kudos to WWE, kudos to Dolph Ziggler for performing the way that he did on the mic Monday night. They addressed probably with 3/4 of the WWE audience of what Chris Jericho fans have been saying all this time since Chris Jericho has come back, which is, okay, this guy just continues to lose every single time we see him. He really hasn't won anything of significant value since he surfaced in the WWE. What the heck is going on here? What's up with Jericho? And Ziggler really, really pushed it home as he basically told Jericho, who interrupted him as he was cutting a promo, no. This moment is not about you. This is all about me. This is my time. This is my moment. Hey, I won my Money in the Bank ladder match. You didn't win yours. And really, Ziggler just really starts bringing it home to Chris Jericho and mentioning, when was the last time you ever won anything? When was the last time you won anything of importance? You're always walking around here talking about how you're going to save us and how it's the end of the world as we know it and how you're the best in the world at what you do. The only thing you are good at is losing. As he then questions if Jericho is possibly losing his touch. Speechless Jericho, he is just hearing all these things that Ziggler is saying, and you can tell that Ziggler has struck the core as Jericho, he finally gives a rebuttal. It's a physical rebuttal as he delivers a code breaker to Dolph Ziggler before leaving the ring. And I just loved how after Vicky Guerrero comes to Ziggler's aid, Ziggler, he's looking on at Jericho, who's just quietly, slowly walking up the ramp. He's smiling at Jericho like, game on. And I was just really pleased with how this had came off. This was probably one of those moments where I know as a Jericho fan, I have been disappointed tremendously with how he's been since he's come back. And I get that he's being used to put over other wrestlers. I get that. I can appreciate that. But it just doesn't really make him come off looking good at the same time. Well, this is the way he had freaking set it up, as I just loved how Ziggler and Jericho threw it down. And it looks as if, folks, that this may possibly be one of the last feuds that Jericho is going to have, as he's going to be leaving the WWE shortly to start that tour with his band Fozzy. We'll definitely cover more on Fozzy later on in tonight's show. But I'm hoping, I'm praying that this doesn't wrap itself up on an episode of Raw or SmackDown. We need to see this go down at a pay-per-view. I would definitely pay to to see Ziggler and Jericho get it on. I think they would steal the freaking show, seriously. Ziggler has a way of just bringing the best out of people. Jericho the same way, especially with the match that he had against Sheamus on last Friday Night SmackDown. This would definitely be a good match between these two blonde heads. So let's see what happens weeks to come. Now, from there, folks, we get another plug for the Raw 1000th episode next week, as we see the WWE polls are revealed that Christian will be the one who will be defending his IC Intercontinental title, IC title that is, on the 1000th episode of Raw next week. As coming up next, we see Brodus Clay in action as he took on JTG. I actually had needed help from the listeners, folks, because I'm sitting up and I'm watching JTG, and the first thing I said to myself was, where's JTG? Who is this guy? And then I had to look at him a little bit more to realize, oh, that's JTG, and I actually needed help from some of our followers because I said, what's going on with JTG? How long has he been wearing trunks now? And I was told, oh, he's been wearing trunks now since NXT. I said, wow, I've really got to start watching NXT more. But I like the look. It's going to take me a while to get used to seeing JTG running around in trunks and boots. I've been so used to seeing him wearing the jeans and the boxers hanging outside of the jeans. I've been so used to seeing that image for so long. But I like the new look. We would see Brodus Clay defeat JTG as Brodus Clay and his Funketeer dancers, they would sit up and they would dance. And I couldn't help but say to myself as I was seeing this transpire, WWE had a missed opportunity right here. They missed an opportunity to have Rikishi and the Usos have a dance-off against Brodus Clay and Naomi and Cameron, I believe her name is. They missed an opportunity right there. Or maybe it will still happen. I would hope that if it is going to happen, that we definitely see it next week, as I just feel that would be a fantastic moment right there. You get all of them in the ring, and they're all dancing together. Don't put the little kids in there. That just kind of makes the whole thing just kind of jacked up a little bit. Just have all of them be in there really throwing it down, doing their dancing. Let those Funketeer dancers do what they do best, as they love just leg dropping, all that good stuff. Let's see all that good stuff happen next week. But, yeah, I just couldn't help but feel that it was a little bit of a missed opportunity right there, as it kind of would have been nice to see Rikishi and Brodus Clay in a backstage segment as they bump into each other, and Rikishi could have been like, so you think you the better dancer, huh? And Brodus Clay, hey, he could have been like, yeah, actually, I think I am the better dancer. And Rikishi could have said, well, let's find out next week. Let's have a dance-off. And that could have been another thing that could have been highlighted for Raw 1000. We'll see if they'll still do it. I kind of got this weird vibe. They might. Again, I'd be surprised if they wouldn't do it. And from there, folks, we would see our seventh match of the evening, as we would see CM Punk taking on the Big Show, as this match would end in a disqualification in favor of CM Punk, who really just was handling his own against Big Show. He was having a pretty fantastic match, really carrying the workload. Definitely a match where I was not bored. Thank God CM Punk was involved in this match, because he really put over Big Show, as Big Show would eventually just snap. He wasn't listening to the referee's warnings, and it got to the point where Big Show, he just pushed the ref out the way, and he just continued assaulting the WWE champion, as the ref had no choice but to call for the bell. Mr. Captain America himself, the C-Nation leader, John Cena, would come down to the ring, and he would come to the aid of CM Punk, as Big Show is telling Cena, no, do it right now. Cash in your title. Take advantage of this opportunity. He's right there for you. Go ahead. And in a superhero-like fashion, we would see John Cena give Punk a lot of praise for holding on to the championship for the number of days that he's had it now, but that his biggest challenge is yet to come, as we revealed that he's going to be cashing in that briefcase against Punk on Raw 1000. But he would also reveal that the message that he had, the huge announcement that he had, basically consisted of him hitting Big Show with the briefcase to end this episode of Raw, as we see CM Punk and John Cena give each other a stare down. Overall, it was a pretty strong episode of Raw. I was very pleased with what I had saw. It was definitely better than what they had dished out last week, folks, as it was the final Raw before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So bad I can't even remember what had happened last week, so that's a really good thing. They came off really swinging on Monday's show. I feel kind of seems like they took a little bit more time with execution on this episode, especially with every single match on the card. Very pleased with what I saw. Now we get to look forward to the WWE Raw 1000 next week, and I definitely feel, I've been saying it for the past few weeks now, with regards to DX returning, and now we're hearing buzz that other DX members may be popping up as well with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. The writing is on the wall right there, as it's going to be jam-packed, as Brock Lesnar will also be appearing as well to acknowledge whether or not he'll be accepting Triple H's challenge to go one-on-one at SummerSlam. We got the writing on the wall right there. At some point, we're going to see Brock Lesnar. He's going to get his hands on Shawn Michaels. Who knows? Maybe he might also get his hands on any other DX member that decides they want to return for this 1000th episode / DX reunion at the top of the hour, at the opening of Raw. But definitely rest assured, Brock Lesnar, before it's said and done, he's going to be having his way with either Shawn Michaels or somebody to really piss off Triple H. You can definitely trust that. The Rock, seeing as how his movie G.I. Joe has been pushed back to next year, I don't know, man. I've been kind of debating on this ever since the news broke out that The Rock was going to be returning to the WWE. Might we possibly see The Rock in some type of capacity come back in a couple of weeks and start throwing it down? I'm not really sure, folks, but maybe we could expect some type of a announcement as far as when The Rock will officially be back on a full-time or part-time schedule. I think that would really be an awesome Raw moment right there. Of course, we got what's going to be going down with Daniel Bryan and AJ. That just smells weird in itself right there. I truly believe that on the most memorable night for Raw, that Daniel Bryan is going to embarrass the hell out of AJ. The only question is just how is he going to be able to do this. One angle that's floating around right now that I kind of like the idea of is possibly Bryan revealing that he's been doing his thing with Eve, and they really rub it in AJ's face. That's one angle right there, and honestly, I'm really thinking about it right now. You kind of have Eve, who's just been kind of floating around ever since she had lost that job title as executive assistant to John Laurinaitis. What better way to kind of continue to have her be a additional mouthpiece for Daniel Bryan, if you will? Not that he needs a mouthpiece, but how cool would that be to kind of have Eve and Daniel Bryan be the new Edge and Lita? That would kind of be a nice little twist right there. Don't be too surprised if maybe you see Eve involved in their wedding. I definitely smell some weird shenanigans that's going to be happening right there. Of course, the million-dollar question right now that we have CM Punk taking on John Cena for the WWE Championship, what could possibly be the outcome of that? If you listen to a previous episode of the RCWR show from a couple of weeks back, and maybe next time around we'll definitely pull up the archives. We'll play a little soundbite. I said there's just no way CM Punk is going to lose the WWE Championship anytime soon. The guy's already gracing the front cover of the WWE 13 video game. So with that in mind, and not to mention that would be a ton of redesigning you would have to do just to put the current champion on that video game, I don't see CM Punk losing to John Cena. I think the way that this is designed, I think this is just WWE's way of finally putting to rest, okay, we have finally seen someone who tried to cash in their Money in the Bank briefcase and have failed. And I think that this is a smart move on WWE's part, because if they plan this right, it could possibly win over even more John Cena fans who will be like, oh, he came so close, but yeah, CM Punk's the man. I truly believe they're really trying to do a better job of, not really reintroducing John Cena, but in a way they're really trying to come up with more ways to get him over with the crowd, since unfortunately that whole, John Cena turning heel, it just doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. So I just think that WWE, they're trying to come up with different ways to keep him fresh, keep him relevant. I appreciate that. I'm down with that. I mean, look at Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. That guy was practically a face his entire career. And the one time he did try to go heel, the fans, they still were rooting him on, and they let it be known that he needed to go back to being a face, and eventually he would go back to being face. So I just see John Cena, the way that this match is going to be playing out, he's definitely going to be the first to unsuccessfully cash in the contract for the championship. So mark my words on that. Remember, you heard it here first. Other than that, I think that the WWE Raw 1000, I think that WWE has done a pretty good job of building towards the historic episode, and it should definitely be a phenomenal night. Definitely looking forward to it. This is what we're going to do right now, because we got plenty of showtime left. We're going to take a brief pause, and then when we come right back, we're going to jump into some more wrestling-related news, get you caught up on the latest of what's been happening in entertainment news. We'll definitely share with you the latest WWE Raw rating for this past Monday, as the ratings are in. And we'll definitely talk about John Cena, as we had mentioned at the top of the show. We want to address a few things with regards to, is the WWE Universe getting too much of John Cena? Is John Cena being forced down everybody's throats? We'll definitely go more in depth about that. So hang tight. You're listening to the Tuesday night edition of the Rcwr Report, brought to you by the Rcwr Show. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Want to be part of the show? Want to share your thoughts? Call the RCWR Show toll-free at 1-888-342-9848.
And we're back. You're listening to the Tuesday Night Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR Show. I'm, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Thank you all so kindly for checking out tonight's episode. Just got to give you a programming note that coming up next Monday on July 23rd, the RCWR Show is going to be making a special Monday night appearance. That's right, we're going to be coming on immediately after the 1000th episode of WWE Raw. So do join us. It's going to be a fantastic night, as I'm going to be joined by the lovely co-producer Tammy, who will be making another rare appearance, as she'll be helping me co-host the show. And we're also going to be having a third co-host, special guest hip-hop artist Scooter, who's going to be dropping by, as we all are going to discuss that night's episode, get you all's reactions, and get you caught up on the very latest in wrestling-related news and more. So do join us. It's very rare that we make a Monday night appearance. What better way to make a Monday appearance than talking about the 1000th episode of Raw? So it's going to be really cool right there. Do make sure that you join us. Also, we got a contest that is going to be concluding next Monday, as we had been getting you all's input. We had asked you all to help us name our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR Show, and we had gotten a ton of good show name ideas. Well, we're down to the wire right now. If you haven't come up with your show ideas, feel free to send us some names. You can hit us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. You can also hit us up at Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. You can also send us an email by just going to our website over at Infinity1Productions.com. Click on the Contact Us tab, and you can shoot your show name ideas to us that way. Got nice, cool prizes that are going to be up for grabs, so we'll be revealing it within the first hour of the show next Monday night. So definitely check that out. And if you haven't pitched in your show name ideas, definitely get that head start and send your ideas to us now before the contest ends. For those of you that might be curious about how WWE Raw did this past Monday night, they did significantly well, as last week's Raw saw a 3.2 rating. Well, this week saw a 3.44 rating, so that's pretty awesome. Let's see what happens next week. As I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks now, WWE Raw, they need a home run. They need to pull in at least a 4.0 and up in order to say that the 1000th episode was a success. But great information, great news right there for that 1000th episode of Raw. So let's talk about John Cena. And this was something that was touched briefly by one of our callers who had felt that John Cena is just basically being shoved down the throats of many wrestling fans. And it brought up a very interesting question, if John Cena really has been shoved down people's throats in recent months or just in general. And it was so funny because we actually had somebody who wrote this very interesting article on John Cena winning the Money in the Bank, and they basically said that John Cena winning Money in the Bank was one of the most dumbest things that could happen in the WWE. And, I mean, they just went on and on and on, and they were just really bashing the heck out of WWE for going the route that they did, when this person, who I believe might have been in their teens, I'm not really sure, they had missed the true valid points of probably a lot of the reasons why John Cena had got that belt. And I don't want to really go into too much detail about why I feel John Cena had got the belt, because I said it perfectly on the RCWR post show this Sunday, so do check that out if you haven't. But it just really added more fuel to the fire and really taking the time to do some good soul searching and figure out if this really has been the case. Now, I can honestly tell you, as someone who has followed the career of John Cena from the very beginning, I honestly had got to the point where I was getting very sick and tired of seeing John Cena always win at every single pay-per-view. He was always able to retain his title. I would literally at times be throwing stuff at the TV. That's how mad I was at seeing John Cena always pulling a win just when it seemed like he was coming so close to losing the belt. I could remember weeks where I would be so fed up with John Cena, I'd sit up and say, okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm not watching this for a few weeks. I'm not watching this for a few months. Turn it back on. John Cena's still doing the same thing. He still has the belt. It was just frustrating as I don't know what. And I'm sure a lot of wrestling fans that have been following the career of John Cena, they probably ended up feeling that same way as well. But I've been noticing within the past several months, really a couple of years now, and I've been noticing with John Cena, it just seems to me like he's just quietly on his own accord, in his own way, he's just quietly moved to the side and been like, okay, we got these other wrestlers that are talking about being hungry. They want to be able to get the opportunity to get the spotlight. Okay, well, let's see what they can do. And it brings up a very interesting point. Now, let's think about the WWE Championship belt for a minute, folks. All right? And here's the reason why I'm bringing up this championship belt. I want to talk about the people that have held the championship belt before John Cena and after John Cena. Kind of give you a little bit of a better retrospective look on what all has been going on pre-John Cena and then after John Cena. So we know John Cena has been in the WWE now for 10 years, all right? So let's back it up. Let's go on back to 2002, all right? Here we go. We're going to pick it up in 2002. Let's pick it up at March 17th, 2002, Triple H. Next champion, which is champion 65, by the way. These are all listed in order. The 65th champion was Hulk Hogan, who defeated Triple H at the Backlash pay-per-view. That happened April of 2002. Now, in May of 2002, we would see The Undertaker win the belt from Hulk Hogan. Champion number 67, we would see The Rock, who would win the belt in a triple threat match that had involved Kurt Angle and The Undertaker. That's July of 2002. 68, we see Brock Lesnar, who won it from The Rock at SummerSlam in August of 2002. That would be followed up by The Big Show, same year. Kurt Angle, same year. Brock Lesnar in 2003. Then it would go back to Kurt Angle. Then it would go back to Brock Lesnar. Then we would see Eddie Guerrero defeat Brock Lesnar at the No Way Out pay-per-view. We're now in the year 2004, folks. Now, here's what all had happened in 2004. After Eddie Guerrero, we would see John Bradshaw Layfield defeat Eddie Guerrero at the Great American Bash in a Texas Bull Rope match. Now, John Cena would come in 2005. Now, remember, the title at that point, it had became exclusive to the Raw brand on June of 2005 when Cena was drafted to Raw as the first pick in the 2005 draft lottery. From there, folks, we would see Edge take that belt off of John Cena in 2006. Now, look at that gap there, folks. April 3rd, 2005, John Cena has the belt. He doesn't lose it until January 8th, 2006. Of course, that's the infamous New Year's Revolution pay-per-view where Edge cashed in that Money in the Bank contract and took out John Cena after he successfully defended it in the Elimination Chamber match. 2006 of the same year, in June, we would see RVD beat John Cena as he cashed in his Money in the Bank contract from WrestleMania 22. This match was a Extreme Rules match, and the title became the property of the ECW brand. Van Dam became the first person to hold the WWE and the ECW World Championship. Now, let's not forget, on that infamous episode of Raw in 2006 of July, we would see Edge beat Rob Van Dam as it was a triple threat match that also involved John Cena as the title became exclusive on the Raw brand. Remember, folks, after RVD had messed up and had those drug tests come back failed, they decided they were going to take the belt off of him that same week. I have never seen a champion of that caliber with so much prestigious gold get stripped within the same week. I mean, here we had RVD as the WWE champion on Monday, and then you go to Tuesday's ECW, and he got stripped of the ECW title. It was a pretty bad week for RVD. Then in 2006, same year now, September, we would see John Cena get the belt back in a tables, ladders, chairs match. October 07. Look at that gap there, folks. September 2006, October 2nd, 2007. John Cena would vacate the title because he had a torn right pectoral tendon. Randy Orton would then be awarded that title. Triple H would take the belt off of Orton. Randy Orton would get the belt back from Orton. This is all in 2007. Triple H would get the belt back from Orton in April of 2008. Now, Triple H, his reign lasted until November as Edge took the belt off of him. That would be followed up later on, 1 month later, actually, after Edge had won the belt in November, as Jeff Hardy would take the belt off of Edge in December. That happened at the Armageddon pay-per-view. Edge would get the belt right back 1 month later at the Royal Rumble in a no disqualification match. From there, we would see Triple H take the belt off of Edge. We're now in February of 2009 here, folks. Everything else is 2009. Randy Orton would take the belt off of Triple H. Batista would take the belt off of Randy Orton. The belt would soon be vacated by Batista as he suffered a torn left bicep. Randy Orton would get the belt. John Cena would take the belt off of Randy Orton. Orton takes the belt back. Cena takes the belt back. Sheamus takes the belt off of John Cena. This is to close out the year of 2009. February of 2010, we see John Cena get the belt back. That would be followed up by Batista. Then it goes back to John Cena. Sheamus gets the belt back. That would be followed up by Randy Orton. Then The Miz to close out 2010. Here's what went down in 2011. John Cena gets it. CM Punk gets it. Rey Mysterio gets it, but John Cena gets it the same night. Alberto Del Rio gets it. John Cena gets it. Then it goes back to Alberto Del Rio. Then it goes back to CM Punk. So, John Cena has not held the belt since July 25th of 2011. Prior to that, John Cena last held it May of 2011. And if you want to put one more out there, the last time John Cena held it was March 28th, 2010. So there is that little bit of respected gaps in between. Now, what all has happened since John Cena has moved to the side? We have seen guys like CM Punk, who really commanded the spotlight. really be given the attention that they feel that they deserve. We've seen guys like Daniel Bryan step it up, and though he's probably just now getting the recognition that he deserves, Sheamus is another one that has really been stepping his game up, especially within recent months, as he's really just been doing a better job of performing each and every time that he gets in the ring. He is just really bringing it. Been very pleased with the World Heavyweight Champion, as quietly as the spotlight is being put on the CM Punks, the Daniel Bryans, the John Cenas. Sheamus is just going out there, not really saying too much, and he's just getting the damn job done. We did see Randy Orton kind of float around there. He was kind of becoming a little bit relevant till he kind of got in trouble there. No telling what's going to happen to him when he comes back. Let's also think about the feuds that John Cena has been in since he hasn't been in the title picture. He threw it down with the Nexus. He threw it down with Wade Barrett. He threw it down with Kane. He threw it down with Brock Lesnar. He threw it down with Big Show. Mixed it up with Chris Jericho. Threw it down with Rey Mysterio. There's a point I'm making to all this. If you kind of really take a step back, John Cena really hasn't been really being shoved down anybody's throats. Is it kind of jacked up the way WWE programming books him? Yeah, it is, because it sends a message for sure that John Cena is more significant than the WWE Championship. No doubt about it, that he's more important than any other championship that's in the company right now. No doubt about it. But honestly, it's going to continue to be the way that it is until it really gets to that point where the wrestlers can really step their game up and surpass John Cena. That's the name of the game right now. As much as I love seeing CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and the other guys week after week after week, I do want to see the other guys get elevated as well. And unfortunately, we have a very thin roster on the Raw side of things right now. Hopefully, guys like Dolph Ziggler, guys like Cody Rhodes, Wade Barrett, whenever he's ready to return, hopefully all these guys, Ryback, I'm praying that Ryback becomes very successful. And though he didn't look too impressive the first go-around, I'm actually hoping Mason Ryan really steps his game up too. Those guys, they have potential. The only thing is, can they really bring it? Now, Dolph Ziggler, no question, he's going to be bringing it. So he's off that list. That's future championship material right there. That's going to be a champion when it's all said and done. But the other guys, they really need to step their game up, because until you do, we're always going to have to kind of rely on John Cena to be the one to kind of make things interesting. Well, let's just think about that feud between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan for a minute there, folks. It seemed like when they had first crossed paths at the Over the Limit pay-per-view, though many of us wrestling fans were already familiar with their style, we had already seen them lock it up before, we're under the impression that, okay, well, we're definitely going to get a 5-star quality type of match, and that's what we had got. But at the same time, you kind of have that core younger WWE audience that felt it was boring, and unfortunately, the rivalry didn't really go anywhere. And lo and behold, look at what happens. They had to involve NXT winner and AJ to help push the feud to where it needed to go, and she really made that feud even more interesting. So, that tells you a lot about CM Punk holding that WWE Championship right now. And when we compare how CM Punk was last year, yeah, he's changed a lot. You know why he's changed a lot? He's changed a lot because he signed a new WWE contract, and as a result of that, he's got to play ball. there is no telling what luxury devices WWE is awarding him for re-signing, and if he wants to keep all of those nice things, he's got to learn how to play nice with them. Very unfortunate, I know, but that's the name of the game, especially if you want to keep getting those paychecks. And unless WWE is willing to have him go back to pushing that envelope as he did last year, then unfortunately that's the CM Punk that we're always going to continue to get. You know, it is what it is. My message to those that we're tired of John Cena, that are sick and tired of always seeing him each week in whatever little feud or just whatever matches he might be involved in, here's the greatest message I can say to you. If John Cena has you worked up that much, and trust me, we have come across many fans, even to this day, that just plainly just don't like John Cena. Our message would be, when you see him come on the TV, flip the channel. Make your voices be heard that way. WWE, they trip over their ratings. They trip over what's happening each segment. You need an example of that. Look at all the times that they've had Punk. The few times that they had him close out the shows, it wasn't doing too good. What they do, they push him to the very top of the hour. They have him open Raw, or they have him come out at the start of the second hour. That says a lot. So that would really be my message to everybody. If you don't like John Cena, just flip the channel. That's what I usually do. If I don't like something that a wrestler is saying, I will flip the channel. I don't care. I'll flip the channel. I'll come back 2-3 minutes later. I've been known to do it for a Divas match. But I just thought that'd be some really cool information to give you all right there. I hope you all had appreciated that, as that was our Keeping It Real portion of the show. We'll definitely do more of those like that. But let's move right on along now. So, of course, the latest buzz that we got going on in the wrestling beat right now is that Karma is done with the WWE. Apparently, they've moved her profile to the alumni section, and this had created a flood of tweets, direct tweets that were sent to Karma asking if it's really true, if she's done with the WWE, and she would reveal that, looks like the cat is out of the bag. Yeah, I actually am done with the WWE, and I know that a lot of fans, including myself, definitely upset at the news that Karma is done with the WWE. I'm hoping that maybe this is just some type of a ploy, but usually when you see somebody move to the alumni section, that really seals the deal right there. I wish her nothing but the best. Would I honestly like to see her go back to TNA? Yes and no. I miss seeing her throw it down with Gail Kim and the other knockouts, but at the same time, the way TNA is operating now, and we'll definitely cover more about what's been happening in TNA on Impact Showdown this Thursday night, but just the way they're operating right now, I really don't think it would be a good move for her to go back to TNA. I strongly believe she should just test out the independent circuit, maybe go back to wrestling in Japan, as she was pretty successful over there to begin with. So, that's where she really got the attention. But it's just really a stupid bonehead move on WWE's part when it's all said and done, because here's a woman that they really could have used to help relaunch their Divas division, as word is that WWE, they had signed Sarah Del Rey to a contract, and they're really trying to rely heavily on her to really teach the upcoming Divas how to wrestle, as WWE, they have now it's finally coming to them. Now it's finally kicking them in the ass. They're really realizing that, okay, it's not really a good direction to sit up and take these swimsuit model-looking women that don't know jack about wrestling and then they're with the WWE for a couple of years. WWE, they do all this stuff to build them up, give them the exposure, and what happens once they have a respected amount of stock? They roll out. So now WWE is getting frustrated and really saying to themselves, let's try to go back to basics. You guys are a couple of years late. That's what y'all should have did. And if you needed a more obvious message, it should have been more clearer when things had went sour with Maria Kanellis. Now, we know she's been doing a phenomenal job in Ring of Honor and a couple of other indie wrestling promotions. More power to her, but she, unfortunately, whether she wants to admit it or not, she had kind of got a little bit of a big head, if you will, and as a result of that, WWE, they had decided that they were going to cut ties with her like they do with many other of their divas. So really great news that they're finally trying to go back to basics, but I still feel that Karma could have been part of that whole repackaging of the Divas division. So I wish her nothing but the best of luck, though. Hopefully things work out for her. She just recently had got married, so, her life is looking pretty good right now, and I'm sure with the current shape that she's in, if y'all haven't seen it, there's some new pics of her floating around where she's been working out. She looks really good. She lost a ton of weight. I think she's definitely going to have a successful wrestling career wherever she goes on her terms. So more power to you, Karma. Of course, we got to talk about Charlie Sheen and his dumb ass. He backed out of the WWE Raw 1000th appearance as, get this, in case you haven't heard, he shut down his Twitter account. So the massive fans that were following him on Twitter, they just got pitch black when they tried to look for his Twitter page. Very unfortunate news right there. Honestly, I kind of felt that it was a little bit shaky that WWE was trying to do business with Charlie Sheen. I was just saying to myself initially when I heard this, I said, man, do they really want to go with Charlie Sheen? He's a little bit of a loose cannon as it is. Do they really want him talking on his account about the WWE? Because that could kind of go either way. It really depends on which Charlie Sheen you get showing up that night. And now we're hearing that WWE, they're thinking about suing Charlie Sheen for breach of contract. Honestly, I don't blame WWE for wanting to do that, but then at the same time, come on, man, this is Charlie Sheen. You guys should know better. Honestly, I would just chalk up the Charlie Sheen incident. I would just chalk that up into a learning experience and just be like, okay, well, we'll never do business with him again. Now, the only way I even see this being redeemable is if in some shape or form, maybe on the DL, Charlie Sheen's publicist, agent, whatever, maybe they possibly reached out to Vince McMahon and the WWE and said, hey, we apologize for what had happened with Twitter, but Charlie Sheen, he just, doesn't want to do it anymore, but we came up with the next best thing. How about Charlie Sheen makes an appearance on Raw and is a bit of a special host throughout the night? I mean, that would kind of be a good way to save it and really capitalize on the plugging that they had put out there for him, because notice they didn't do any type of plugging tonight. They didn't mention what had happened with Charlie Sheen, nothing. They just act like the whole thing didn't even happen. And bear in mind, we had saw at least 3 weeks of hype for Charlie Sheen. So pretty unfortunate right there, but WWE, Vince McMahon, just chalk it up as a loss. Let it be a learning experience. Don't even go through a whole suing, breach of contract, bump all that crap. Just move on. Let him be. Speaking of Charlie Sheen, he recently appeared on Ryan Seacrest's little radio show, and apparently Charlie Sheen is very interested in becoming an American Idol judge. Now, can you just imagine Charlie Sheen trying to handpick who he feels is great talent. If we know anything about 2.5 Men and Spin City, Anger Management, all the other shows that he has been in over the years, I don't think Charlie Sheen is going to be picking talent like that. I think he's going to be looking at who's got the nice sets of you-know-what and all that good stuff. So hopefully that doesn't happen. As he said, it was just a idea that just came to him spontaneously, and that he's very seriously interested in doing that. I pray that doesn't happen, because if it does, well, man, I feel sorry for Fox. And in Ring of Honor Wrestling news, folks, we got some more information on the upcoming tournament that's going to be taking place to crown new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions following the controversial departure of Kenny King to TNA, as Ring of Honor has confirmed that the Guardians of Truth, they're going to be the fourth team that's going to be taking part in that 8-team tournament. It's already announced that the Briscoes, the Young Bucks, and Blackout will be participating as well. Now, the first round of this is going to be taking place at the August 3rd tapings down at the Du Burns Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. If you want to purchase tickets or get show information, just hop on to the Ring of Honor Wrestling website. Also announced, Kevin Steen will be defending his Ring of Honor World Championship against Homicide at that same Baltimore tapings. Now, Steen has not yet been able to defeat Homicide in a one-on-one competition in the past, so might Homicide have Sting's number? We'll find out in a couple of weeks, folks. And what's trending? They got a blog up right now on the Huffington Post where they're talking about RZA and Batista promoting the Man with the Iron Fist at Comic-Con last week, and they were also talking about a possible Batista return to the WWE. And Batista, he pretty much said he's not against going back. It's just definitely not going to be happening this year. And honestly, I don't think he's trying to throw a curveball at anybody. He's got a pretty hectic schedule as it is, as right now he's getting ready to make his music video directorial debut for a song called Decisions over Veal Orloff with rapper Action Bronson, who is also helping Batista train for his MMA fight debut. In case those of you had missed it, yeah, Batista, he's finally going to have his first MMA match against Rashid Evans, not to be confused with the UFC light heavyweight former champion. So this is a different Rashid Evans. They're going to be getting it on. Supposedly this is going to be coming on pay-per-view, so it should be very interesting to see how that fight is going to play out. And, we definitely want to send some get wishes to a couple of folks. We definitely want to send best wishes out to WWE Hall of Famer Tammy Sunny Cinch, who had checked herself into a rehabilitation program being sponsored by the WWE. She had did that just the other day after being admitted to an emergency room late Friday night for consuming, get this, 2 gallons of vodka. Now, she took to her Facebook page to address the matter, saying that heartfelt thank yous go out to everyone for your support. I'm doing something I need to do for me. I'll be fine, I promise. X's and O's. So, really glad that she's trying to get her act cleaned up. Know that she's been hot over heels for her current boyfriend that's in the picture right now, as he lives in Connecticut, and she's been trying to do everything she can to move out there, be with him, and she's also talking about finally wanting to have kids, start a family. So really nice that she's taking that first of many steps to that road of recovery. Tammy, Sonny, best, hope you get well there. And, of course, we got to send out condolences to the Stallone family, as Sylvester Stallone had lost his son, Sage Stallone. Something weird had happened over the weekend. We had reported it on our website. More information has just been forthcoming as it becomes available, but what we've been able to gather so far, basically Sage Stallone, he was found at his home dead. Tabloids, they try to capitalize on this story and say that basically he committed suicide, he popped a boatload of pills, he was drinking, and that wasn't even the case apparently, as a lot of people, they've come to Sage's defense and said that with regards to the so-called empty bottles, beer bottles, that was found around his body, it was actually cream soda, like Coca-Cola or A&W root beer. He was very fixated, if you will, on this one particular type of cream soda, and he loved drinking it. That's what was found near his body. His lawyer, a lot of friends, they sat up and said that he actually had a lot to live for because he was actually supposed to get married this past weekend. So really it's kind of one of those, well, why the hell would he just off himself? So you know how it is, folks. The tabloids, they like to sit up. They think they got a story. They like selling that scandalous stuff, those major misleading headlines to try to make you feel as though, oh, I got to go buy this, I got to check this out. Can't really pay attention to stuff like that. We'll definitely provide you guys more information as it becomes available, but for right now, it looks as though an autopsy is going to be underway, as police are saying it doesn't look like any foul play has happened to him, so hopefully we'll know what will happen with those autopsy results as it becomes available, and hopefully we'll know what consists of the toxicology report, which is going to take a couple of weeks to come through. For those of you that's not familiar with Sage Stallone, he made his first appearance in Rocky V, and that was the one where Rocky Balboa, he pretty much was retired from fighting, but he decided that he was reluctantly going to take on a newcomer in Tommy Gunn, who was very hungry, and he pretty much saw shades of himself in Tommy, so that's why he had took him under his wing. And at the same time, Rocky was also trying to juggle a father-son relationship with his son, portrayed by Sage Stallone. And that Rocky movie, it had met a lot of lackluster reviews, dubbed as one of the worst Rocky movies of the series, but, you know, that was Sage's first acting debut in that movie. Father and son would hook up again for one more movie in 1996. Originally, he was supposed to come back for the Rocky Balboa movie that had came out a couple of years back, but due to other commitments, Sage had to back out. I can only imagine how Sly Stallone is right now. Our hearts, our condolences. It definitely goes out to you, your family, fans of Stallone. You know, definitely try to send him, you know, condolences and wishes right there, as, hey, at least he has the Expendables 2 right now, and at least he's going to be surrounded by good company to help him get through this difficult period right now, because Lord only knows if he was just doing this right now and not having any projects to dive into, it would probably be some really serious dark days for Sly Stallone. So at least he's got the Expendables 2, and that's going to keep him busy for a couple of months, kind of help him cope with things. So best wishes right there. And we definitely got to go into a little bit more entertainment news. Green Day, they just released their new track single titled Oh Love from their upcoming trio of albums. First installment is going to be due in a couple of months, and the way they're going to be doing this, they're going to be releasing them every 3 to 4 months, I believe, until they all come out. Check it out. It's called Oh Love from Green Day. Really great track. I was very pleased with it. Probably one of their best pieces of work to date. It's definitely right up there. And, of course, we got to talk about Chris Jericho's band, Fozzy, as they had released their single from their upcoming Sin and Bones album, Sandpaper, featuring M Shadows. If you guys have not checked out this single, highly recommend that you make it your business. Try to buy it on iTunes, Zune marketplaces. Check out the song on YouTube. You will not be disappointed. To date, it is probably Jericho's best vocals. I kid you not. I am a big Fozzy fan, and I have appreciated how they have just stepped their game up with each album, and it just seems like a completely different but a really in-your-face, kick-ass type of an album that Fozzy is going to be getting ready to put out. Very pleased with his vocals. I think the first time I listened to the song, I actually ended up playing it back 3 more times. So I played the song 4 times back-to-back, something that I've never done before for a Fozzy song. So that gives you an idea of just how cool this song is. You almost forget that it's Jericho because his vocals, the progression between the albums, it's just changed dramatically, folks. All right, so one more time, we're going to take a commercial break, and then when we come right back, we're going to open up our wrestling fan line, get you all's reactions. So hang tight. You're listening to the Tuesday night edition of the RCWR Show. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And we're back. You're listening to the Tuesday night edition of the Wrestling Report, brought to you by the RCWR Show. If you want to call in, feel free to do so. You can do so calling us right now at 646-478-3525. Again, that phone number is 646-478-3525. Without any further ado, let's open up our lines. I see we got our good friend Dave from the Michigan area. Dave, you're live on the air, my friend. How you been?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Pretty good, man.
Yeah, I thought Raw for the I guess you could call it the go home show for the 1,000. 3,000's a ways away yet, but for 1,000 Raw and saying goodbye to the 2 hours, which I thought they did a really good job. And I would love to see. I know we got the wedding with AJ and Daniel Bryan, but I would care if they even scratched that and said, okay, we have to, if they do have Stone Cold, we have to do a Daniel Bryan and Stone Cold segment.
Yeah.
That would be just epic. That would be a classic Raw moment right there.
Yeah, it definitely would be. I would love to see that happen. That speaking of which, that's been getting a lot of downplay too, man. I think that's probably going to be one of their little surprises for that 1,000th episode of Raw, because you can't have a celebration like that without Steve Austin.
That'd be epic right there. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah, that would definitely be crazy right there. What else did you like about the final installment of Raw, or at least the 2-hour edition?
I did like. Well, it didn't really seem like. I did like seeing Rey Mysterio come back, but I'm just kind of feeling. I'm not a Zack Ryder fan at all, but I'm just kind of feeling bad for him a little bit because after Zack Ryder got a pretty good pop from the crowd. And it's like as soon as Rey Mysterio came back, everyone forgot all about Zack Ryder.
Very valid point indeed, yeah.
I mean, he was just forgotten.
He was, yeah. Well, maybe what they can do is sit up and they can have it be a situation where maybe they could pair those two up and maybe they could form a little bit of a tag team. I mean, we just saw Rey Mysterio come to the aid of Zack Ryder. Maybe that can be a good setup for a Raw match next week or on an episode of SmackDown where we can see Zack Ryder team up with Rey Mysterio. I got one better than that. How about a 6-on-6? Maybe we can see Sin Cara team up with Zack Ryder and Rey Mysterio to take on the team of Alberto Del Rio, Ricardo Rodriguez. Maybe possibly we can throw Daniel Bryan in there. Who knows? Dave, thank you so much for that call, bro. Really appreciate it. I definitely would love to see something happen right there. But, yeah, I definitely think it's kind of silly how they had poor Zack Ryder just be completely forgotten like that. Hey, at least he still has his YouTube channel and he still has the not the Intercontinental. What is it he's calling? The Internet Championship. That has me wanting to create my own championship. Maybe I can call it the Best Eaten Hamburger Champion. I don't know, but I'm getting silly there, folks. Well, we definitely got to wrap up the show by mentioning some hidden gems. We loved the first installment that we did. We definitely want to keep it going. So here's 2 picks that I want for you guys to check out on your spare time, and you can thank me later. Now, if you're into rock music, you're into R&B music, a little bit of hip-hop, I got something for you. You all know, especially those of you that have been listening to the show for a very long time, you know how much of a Chris Cornell Soundgarden fan that I am. Well, I have a really cool album for you guys to check out from Chris Cornell. And for me, it's a hidden gem because it is seriously a very underrated album. And it is a solo album that he did back in 2009 called Scream. Now, this was the first time in Chris Cornell's illustrious rock career that he made a serious shift from rock, as he went from rock to R&B/hip-hop. And courtesy of this was megastar producer Timbaland. Now, the backstory to this was originally Chris Cornell, he came in contact with Timbaland to help him do some remixes for his Carry On album. And one thing led into another, and they were just really grooving with one another. They were really enjoying each other's collaborations, the camaraderie, that they decided, hey, why don't we just actually do a whole album? And from there, the idea came into play from Chris Cornell wanting to do a type of album that he could just listen to where the music never stops, like how it was when he was a little kid. You could just listen to the music all the way. Now, this album, it had met a lot of criticism. I mean, seriously, there was probably only a handful of websites that gave it positive reviews. Just to give you an idea of the amount of people that really did not like this album, it doesn't get any bigger than Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, who was quoted saying that the album is a condemning act, as it's embarrassing, is what he said. But it is actually a very underrated album. I feel it is probably one of those best pieces of work that you'll come across from Chris Cornell. And I have a little bit of a bonus homework for you, for those of you that are interested in playing this album or searching for this album and playing it. The thing that you have to keep in mind is the album that's floating around right now, the real vision that Chris Cornell and Timbaland had was just what I said earlier, but unfortunately you can hear the tracks cut off and go into each track. Somebody actually took the liberty of remixing this album and giving it the vision that Chris Cornell actually saw it, and you can actually hear the album in its entirety, perfectly blending into each track. You don't hear no cut snippets, nothing like that. Highly recommend that you check it out. Trust me, you won't be disappointed with it, especially if you appreciate R&B. Really nice transition that Chris Cornell did when he did this album. One more hidden gem I would like for you to check out, and it's actually a new release. I want you guys to check out Breaking Bad Season 4. Now, I came on to this series just a little bit late. I believe I came on probably around the third season. And, man, I got caught up as I was anticipating the fifth season opener this past weekend, which did phenomenally well as the season opened up with a 2.9 million viewers rating. So really great news right there for the Breaking Bad show. For those of you that are not familiar with Breaking Bad, in a nutshell, it is chronicling the story of Walter White, who's portrayed by Bryan Cranston. If that name sounds familiar, that's the dad that actually used to be on Malcolm in the Middle. And he plays a struggling high school chemistry teacher who's basically diagnosed with having cancer, and it looks like he's about to die. And basically he's trying to make sure that his family is going to be financially set before he dies. So what he ends up doing is hooking up with a former student of his, and they start producing and selling methamphetamine. And it is like the new modified version of Scarface. It's a really great series. I'm picking out Season 4 because it was hands down some of the best well-written, well-performed, dark episodes that you'll ever come across on cable TV. So highly check that out. That's going to do it, folks. I thank the many of that have participated in our chat room. Thank those of you that had called into the show. Thank those of